Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Linden City Council to order. If everyone could please rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have a moment of silence for our firefighters and police heroes. You may be seated. Kristen, has roll call been taken?
Yes.
Chief Sutter, if you would do the introductions, please.
Scott Sutter, Chief of Police.
Ryan Will, Fire Chief. Don Bryce, DPW Director.
Kristen Kodiak, City Clerk, or City Treasurer.
Adam Young, City Planner.
Ellen Glass, City Manager.
Denise Miller, City Council.
Brad Dix, City Councilor.
Jerry Lake, Mayor Pro Tem.
Liz Armstrong, Mayor.
Mike Gilmer, City Attorney.
Jim Hall, City Council.
Tom Hicks, City Council.
Brenda Simons, the City Councilor.
And we're gonna move into special presentations. Chief Will.
Good evening, everybody. In our continued efforts to recruit new firefighters, I come here tonight to introduce one of the two. The one has something going on, she couldn't make it tonight, she'll come at a later meeting now. The newest members would like to help our community with their service to our fire and medical needs when called upon. They both, Michaela, has studied in the medical world in college. She's a 4-year college degree.
Clinical Psychology.
There you go. And once she can take the class for our medical first responders, she can start doing the medicals here. They both will be taking the Fire Academy class in October as well. I'd like to introduce firefighter trainee Michaela Tim. We look forward to seeing her in their growth as a firefighter and what they can offer our residents in their time of need.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Chief Will, and welcome to the department. We're going to move on to public comment. Judy Pressman.
Judy Preston. I'm here tonight because I sent all the city council, city people email, and it was about charter. And it's, 6.1, section A and C, section 6.1A, the top and the bottom, and section 7.7. And, I was informed that the lawyer was gonna address it. And I wanna see an explanation to the answer, and so that I can actually follow up on a question. And, the biggest thing is, the way you read it, it says must, shall, subject to. That's simple English. The handbook is getting edited and changed. Comment cards, they're not being answered, or you're sending emails and you're deflecting the answers. You're changing the subject. There's promoting of politics by calling out certain council members in this council, the city manager. I would like a list of all the employees from 2019 to now that we're hiring. Taxpayers are asking the lawyer for references to support his opinion of the laws of the charter and the handbook, wherever he gets this thing. We want the reference of where he's getting this stuff. And there was email today. Mine's 32 days, no answer. I sent all you guys right before this meeting a copy of it. Another one I sent to you, 34 days. Deflected, no answer. The question was at the last meeting, do you have to have 3 bids for a project? No response was given to a council member. And I have definitions and everything. And I do believe the taxpayer would like transparency, accountability, cooperation, communication with respect from all city mayor, council, mayor, city manager, city lawyer, city workers, etc. That has to be done. This is getting crazy. I had questions for the budget. I will admit, it has been forwarded to the Attorney General's office and the treasurer. I have been on the phone with the Attorney General's office and the treasury. I'm gonna tell you right now, 4 of you were accused of breaking the charter. One of your council members asked me and said that they sent stuff to the Attorney General's office for you breaking the book. Now, is that right to do it to you and not to do it to somebody else? That's a lot of BS. It's time to respect. Council, you're here. Ellen answers to you. You do not answer to Ellen. I give you a chart.
Thank you. I appreciate it, thank you. Monica Larner.
Monica Larner. I live at 152 West Ralston. So there's really nothing new to talk about tonight. The same thing about the Losi Center becoming a second Linden Community Center, while the VFW Community Center remains empty. The annex is not conducive to hearing or seeing during council meetings. The meeting we had with Sean Shoemaker, the Serene Brain meeting, and reading books in general. I don't understand why the library is in the most trafficked place in the building. There's talking in the hallways, there's wheeled carts coming in and out of the room, there's cell phone videos being played behind me. So there isn't good video or audio in that room. So it was said that there couldn't use this room because the audio and visual didn't work. I see that it does work, and we do have microphones here. So getting with the classes. So I gave a packet of all of the information that I could get. I couldn't get May's activity log because that's not on the website. And in June, there was no LOCI department meeting or report, I should say. So in March, we had 10 canceled classes. In April, we had at least 24 canceled classes. In May, at least 18 canceled classes. And that doesn't include the May 5th, which was voting day, where there were no classes. On the police reports for May and June, none of my 911 calls on the North Bridge problem showed up on the log. So am I not important enough to have a report done for that? I would like to know where the May activity log is for the LOCI. The search engine doesn't show most of the things that I look for. And I noticed that the SLPR was offering offering pop-up fitness classes at LoC for the spring and summer. There was nothing on the calendar for that, and they said the July one was canceled due to lack of participation. Well, if you're gonna have these, why isn't it?
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I ask to have, added to our agenda today, number, the Lotion Center and its uses, and the bills, for the equipment, added to our agenda, please.
Is there a second? Is there, support? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All opposed? F was a low C, G was low. So my microphone's dead. So, Ellen, would you, like to take this opportunity to answer any of those?
No, we'll follow up. Thank you.
Alright. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make the motion to accept the, agenda.
Support.
Kristen?
Dick,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Simon. Yes. Link,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Howie.
Yes.
Alright, we're moving on to unfinished business.
You guys have in front of you, I was able to get a updated draft to you guys, the grant sits in front of you, you can email that to you as well, so. Everything else I do not have an update on from the last meeting, and I think the recording, is that what you were asking for to be put on the agenda, Denise, the bills for the recording?
Yes, updates.
I don't know, Kristen, do you have any updates as far as the right now? I do have an update regarding the scheduling to share, so I believe we landed on August fifth through seventh for installation to begin here in the halls as well as the annex.
Do any residents have any questions about the unfinished business? Any council? Have any questions? Okay. The only question that I have is when will this grant get included in the packet?
We can update, the next packet, make sure that you guys are wanting them in the work session or the regular meetings.
The regular meetings is what I think we have decided on. All right. Moving on to the new business, resolution number 11-26, mosquito ballot language approval.
Madam Mayor and City Council, we've had no changes, Attorney Gilder has had an opportunity to review. So tonight, we're just looking at approval, so this can be put on the ballot in November.
Do any residents have any questions about the mosquito ballot language? Seeing none? Councilwoman Simons?
No questions.
Councilman Hicks?
I'm fine, thank you. No questions.
Sorry. Councilwoman Howard?
No questions.
Councilman Miller?
No questions.
Councilman Dick?
No questions.
Councilman? No questions. All right, and I have no questions. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 11-26, a resolution approving ballot language for mosquito control.
Support.
Link,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
I'm sorry. eligible for these specialized grants exclusive only for certified local government communities. So this resolution is required to be able to be provided and execute the grant agreement. And again, it would be to accept the amount $38,200 for hiring of a qualified contractor to provide the city's design guidelines to better align with preservation standards, provide clear guidance to HDC and city staff as well as to the public. Design guidelines have been identified as a important topic by the HDC over the past few years. It's been a high focus area for updating as they are used by historic district commissioners to evaluate proposed work within the historic district. Over the years, there's been some confusion regarding the language and open to things that have been open to interpretation. So we're just really excited to be awarded this with council's approval to be able to start that process. And I am anticipating and open to any and all questions.
Do any residents have any questions about this grant? Seeing none? Councilwoman Miller?
I guess my question is, we got this yesterday?
So, no, we were initially made aware by SHPO, we were informed that our grant application was selected on June 17th. But as we explained, SHPO had not publicly announced the grant awards, and so in Ellen's July 1 emailed update to council, it was requested that we refrain from issuing any public announcement until the information was received out of respect to the other applicants, so we honored that.
Okay, and then we just received it, the written form yesterday?
So it was received, it was put in the council packet on Wednesday, after the press release went out.
Okay, I'm just starting to read into it and see all the wording too. Thank you.
Councilman Dick?
No, good work though. A long time done.
Councilwoman Simons?
Nothing in addition, thank you, I appreciate it.
Councilman Hicks?
Yeah, I sit on the HDC board, so this grant is gonna be just for the historic district, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because there has been confusion about wording and stuff like that. Kind of voice my opinion on it. So, this would give us somebody that would report to the HDC to help us set up guidelines for how the historic district proceeds forward, correct?
They will assist the commission with updating our current guidelines that we have in place and bringing them up to standard.
Very much standard. So how long would you be employed for this? 1 year or?
I haven't received the grant agreement to execute, so we did provide an estimated timeline as part of the grant application to SHPO. So we do have to go through the procurement process, so we would have to go out for a request for proposals. And the grant manual outlines that we need to receive a minimum of 4 bids. So we would have to go through that process. Of course, all of those would come back to council for consideration and approval.
Okay, so they would come to the historic and to the council, but.
Yes, and there's aspects of public engagement throughout the whole process as well as meetings with SHPO. My understanding is that they will be attending certain meetings to help HDC and guide us through the process. And the whole grant would just have to be completed, it's in 2028, so.
Okay, so give it 6 months to figure out who to hire, so it'd be a year and a half that they would work for us to help us
I
adjust the
believe they
guideline, you
would be
think?
with us for the whole, until completion, so until 2028.
Until 2020. Now, is that the start of 2020 or end of 2020? I'm sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, no, I can just see if I can get a quick answer, I'll look regarding that date, but I just know it's 2028. Again, I haven't gotten we can't get the agreement to execute until we provide the resolution. But yes, all those details will be.
And those people would be brought up to both councils to review.
We would have to adhere to SHPO's procurement process, as well as whatever is within our purchasing resolution, because it's over 15,000.
Okay, good. Thank you for
To add
listening.
to that would be a contract, probably with a firm and not an individual employee of the firm.
Which is fine, because then that way, with a firm, you got more
they have, yes, they have the ability to access other professionals within their, their peers and stuff, so.
Thank you for listening to us in the HDC and helping us with this. Thank you.
Councilwoman Helen.
I don't have any questions, Kristen, but I think it's awesome that we were able to get this, so that have a knowledgeable professional person guide us through the complexity of all the rules and regulations surrounding historic preservation with the state of Michigan.
Councilman Lee.
This 38,000, will that cover all the costs, or will it?
Yes, so that's what we worked with our current, provider, and he was able to help us prepare a proposal. And that was the cost that we believe will.
Carry us through 2028? All right, thank you.
All right, so I had sent an email today, and I think most of my questions have been answered. I just wonder if, for things like this moving forward, because this had started back in 21, so there are council members that are not even familiarized with it. Is it possible to put a little bit of a history piece moving forward into the packet so that people know where to look and what it is?
Yeah, I think we can certainly do that.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It was on the grant list when Kristen applied for it, I think back in February, it's been on there since February, that we did issue, that we had submitted it and things like that, but yeah, it has been in the works for quite some time. Kristen has done a lot of heavy lifting with this, so.
I appreciate it, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Madam Mayor, can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
So the 38,000, is that to hire someone to come in and do this?
That is the whole cost, so that covers the cost of any sort of like public notice we need to put out, as well as the consultants.
And can we use our own consultant, someone within the city?
So we have to go out for bid.
Okay.
Select one.
Well, thank you for the grant, getting that for us.
In the very first paragraph on the resolution, it explains that the $38,200 is for the hiring of a qualified contractor to revise the city's design guidelines. So we just have to adhere to those procurement processes and make sure that they ship out, I probably will, if they have a whole list of qualified, that means anybody can bid on it, so.
I was looking at the very bottom, and it says that Kristen and Ellen, and there was a blank line, I didn't know if somebody was supposed to be.
That's for us to sign the agreement
Okay.
and move the steps forward after council approves the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
And, I did find, so all project work must be completed, and accepted by SHPO by August 31, 2028.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I can do it, Tom, you really can't get your glasses out.
I'll make a motion. The motion, resolution number 12-26 GLC grant application.
Support.
Lee?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Howe?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Simon?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to ordinance number 427, amending City of Linden zoning ordinance, housing readiness zoning amendments.
City council members, this is in your packet here, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance for your consideration of adoption. As you know, this came originally from the planning commission as a recommendation after holding a public hearing. Toward the end of last year, the city council worked through the amendments, reviewed them in detail, and recommended a number of changes, which were made and referred back to the planning commission, who held another public hearing. That was in May. The planning commission accepted those changes, added or tweaked a couple of language for clarification on a couple of the definitions, and after the public hearing, made a recommendation back to city council for adoption of this set of amendments. So it addresses things like adding definitions for certain residential use types, removing a reference to adult foster care large group homes being allowed in our single-family residential districts. It moves multiple family and elderly housing from a permitted use in the multiple family residential district to a special land use in that district. It incorporates new design standards for townhouses within the multiple family residential district. It does some clarification within special land uses within the local service and general commercial districts to eliminate conflicting language presently. It reduces the minimum lot size for eligibility to apply as a planned unit development project from 2 acres down to 1 acre to bring it in line with the master plan and some of the recommended priority redevelopment sites in the master plan that aren't 2 acres presently. That would make them eligible for consideration if a property owner in the future were to propose a planned unit development project for planning commission and city council review and approval. It adds, clarifies the number of parking spaces that would be required for assisted living facilities, townhouses, and 3-family dwellings. And then a new addition is related to city council's kind of initiative about single-family dwellings that are non-conforming uses within non-residential districts. So like a single-family home that's a non-conforming use in a commercial district, for example. The language is new that would allow that home to be rebuilt if it was destroyed or damaged by, disaster of some sort. And they wouldn't have to go through hurdles to come back and public hearings and things of that nature. So a single-family, non-conforming dwelling could be rebuilt essentially to its original setting if that were to happen. That is a summary of what's in this proposed ordinance for your consideration. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Do any residents have any questions on the housing readiness zoning amendments? Seeing none. Councilman Dick.
No, they went over it, city council went over it, all the changes that we've incorporated are there.
Councilwoman Howe.
We discussed this previously a couple of times, and the planning commission already went over it, so I am good with it.
Councilman Hicks.
Adam, just what we drew up is what we want, which is perfect. Questions I have for you is, this tags into the NISHA grant, which if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, we've already been given that money on a refund basis, as long as we comply to what they want. Now, if we pass this ordinance, they look at it and they say, no, we don't like your ordinances. At that point in time, then we just comply with their ordinance or just refund their money, and it's done, correct?
I honestly don't know that process. We, at the end of this project, once the amendments are adopted, per the grant, we send them a copy of the adopted amendments and our final report saying that it's done. We're to provide a summary of the amendments as part of our reimbursement request. They don't review the draft and say yes or no, it's not their control, it's our ordinance amendment.
Okay.
I don't know, nor have I heard any cases of Michigan coming back and saying, we're not gonna pay you back for whatever reason. I don't know if that could or would happen.
Okay. Now, with the way we have set up the new ordinance,
Mhm.
we still have control of what goes on in our town, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
A
Yeah.
builder can't come to us, we deny them, they go to NISHA and say,
Correct.
hey, wait a minute, you gotta do something.
Yeah.
We still have final say, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I will say too is, MISHA approved a scope of work for us to go through this process, and it's exactly what we've done.
Because we're, as a group, looking at keeping Linden.
Yes, that,
Okay. And that's
this is your ordinance,
And
this
if they
is
can
your
come in the back
language.
door and change that, then we gotta start from scratch. If you can say that they can't, then we have control.
Correct, you have control over this ordinance, they cannot tell you, in fact, it's tonight, they're not involved in your adopting this language or not adopting this language.
Okay. That's why I just wanna make sure, because that was tied into that, and there's a lot of questions out there. And there's a lot of concerns, so me being up here, I've gotta address those. So thank you for answering this.
Just to clarify, we have not received any funding for the grant. We have paid any invoices that are affiliated with the project, and then we have to submit for reimbursement.
So they reimburse us. Okay, I misunderstood that part, so thank you for clarifying.
Councilwoman Simons.
No additional questions. Thank you for the good work.
Councilwoman Miller.
The two, properties I was worried about is the one by the mill building, Marcos. That's taken care of in there, correct? To rebuild a house that's in a commercial, and she's a resident, she's been here since 1912. If her house burns down or something happens, so she can rebuild it as is.
Non-conforming residential use in commercial, which we changed.
Okay,
If it is a non-conforming residential use in a commercial district, I'm not familiar with that particular
Okay.
situation. If it's a non-conforming residential use in a commercial district, yes, it would have, this new language, if adopted, would apply to that, allowing that house to be rebuilt.
okay, and then we have another one that is a store in a residential area.
Right.
That one's taken care of too.
No, that is not. That was something that was discussed, by the city council, and, we, in my opinion, and taking it to the planning commission, is that would allow for a commercial building, so a non-conforming commercial building in a residential area to be rebuilt if it's destroyed. Based on kind of zoning and how that works, we would want to be very careful about that, because the intent of a non-conforming use is to have that in a particular, commercial use in in the middle of a residential area, is for that to go away over time, so that it becomes residential. And so it certainly could be rebuilt. They would just have to go through the process, and we want to engage the property owners that surround it, for example, to be able to provide input.
Okay.
So that would require coming back to the council for a rezoning. Now, a residential use, non-conforming in a commercial area, I think you would see that the context is very much different, where, not scrutiny would be necessary for a project like that.
Okay, if this is a store with a residential on top of it, is that any different than what we're talking about right now? That still goes back to, we're talking about Calabrese, they have a apartment on top. It's a mixed use.
If that was to burn down, they could rebuild. The residential is an allowable component, the commercial is not.
Thank you. No other questions?
Councilman Lee.
I don't have any questions.
So, I've got a couple questions. When this first came out, with the housing readiness zoning amendments, there is a list, that is put out. In order to qualify for the grant, you have to have X amount of the things that were on the list. So I guess the direct question I'm asking, do we have the correct number of things to be able to get the money for this grant?
That is a different program, it's not related to this grant, there's a different MISHDA program where I've seen the same thing.
The
where you
housing
need to-
readiness?
No, it's a different funding source, so this is to, update zoning ordinances. There's a different program out there that, I've seen a list of things that you would need to have in your zoning ordinance. This is not intended to accomplish that.
Okay, because with, when I called MML, I spoke with someone at MML, in my email box for this particular grant was sent a list of things that we had to meet. Well, certain benchmarks that we had to meet.
Yeah.
One of which was, there was ADUs, there was multiple different things as far as benchmarks. And that came directly from MML.
There are no benchmarks in this MISHDA housing readiness program that we applied for as part of our grant.
Is there a motion?
make the motion to ordinance number 427, amending the city of Linden zoning ordinance, housing readiness zoning amendments.
Support.
Confirming that was a motion to approve.
Yes.
Mhm.
Miller,
Yes.
Simons,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Armstrong.
No. Ordinance number 428, amending chapter 72 of title of the Code of Ordinances, bicycle scooters, mopeds.
Madam Mayor, I will let Chief Sutter and with the assistance of Mike, we, present to council on this one.
Thank you. Council, recently you asked me and our city attorney to look in changing our ordinance to address motorized scooters, e-bikes, and mopeds. What's before you tonight is an amendment to our current ordinance, chapter 22, to reflect these types of bikes that we were talking about, e-bikes, motorized scooters, and mopeds. We want to welcome these type of vehicles, eco-friendly vehicles, but we want to be able to regulate this. This helps us regulate it. It helps us regulate behavior. I believe it's legally sound. Our city attorney looked at it and drafted it himself. We both looked at it, and I think it meets what our needs. It establishes clear boundaries for these devices. And also, the ordinance also talks about similar devices, so that if more come into the being of existence, then we will have some language to address that as well. Again, it targets reckless behavior, careless behavior, and I think it's what we need to address this. And if you have any other questions for myself or Mike, happy to answer.
Do any residents have any questions about the ordinance?
Is this a discretionary ticket?
Yes, it is. Tickets are discretionary. Yes.
I just,
I was just wondering, is this, tied in with the pathway as well, like preventing motorized vehicles from going on non-motorized paths and things like that?
Well, it would be this, that is a sidewalk, considered a sidewalk. So our ordinance would allow them in our city. I can't speak for Fenton Township, but it would allow that.
Yes, sir.
So I happen to notice under the code enforcement that you had an e-bike, e-dirt bike that was not allowed in the city.
Yes.
I couldn't find language of what's not allowed. Is there a list of what's not allowed? And in other cities, certain classes of bikes aren't allowed. Is that the case?
Well, speaking of the e-mini bike motorcycles, those are handled by the motor vehicle code already. So they're illegal. So that's separate from this. So if they're driving on our roads, that's illegal already. And so some of those bikes that you're referring to are considered off-road vehicles as well. So again, that's illegal in our city. And then the ordinance itself addresses those type of vehicles that are allowed.
Are there any other?
Is this addressing even the safety equipment that they must wear while they're doing anything?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It addresses reckless behavior. Yeah. And I think that's the most that's the biggest part of this thing, is the reckless behavior. Now, and I'll tell you, we have made numerous conversations with these young people, and it's mostly young people, but it's not always young people. It's people actually going to work. It's people going to the library. It's people going to the milk pond. It's bringing people to our downtown area, and that may not come. And so as long as, and we talk to them, and they're understanding, I can tell you, they are. You know, I can't stand those e-motorcycles and bikes as well, though I don't want them in my town, so. But I think it's a good ordinance. And I don't know if Mike has anything to say about it.
Happy to answer any questions, but I put before you what I was asked to do, and
The ordinance can always be amended in the future, but we did the best that we could to regulate that particular use.
Go ahead.
And I see where it says a half hour. All right, after sunset, so there's 10:30, they're not supposed to be out?
Well, it's because of the lack of light, the darkness, yes.
Okay, because there's not too many lights on Hyatt Lane,
Okay.
and they go up there, they're out there till almost midnight. One of them has a purple headlight on his little contraption, and the rest of them follow him, they don't have
Okay.
any lights.
Well,
So-
and if you know who they are or whatnot.
I don't, they're not from
Okay.
our neighborhood.
Okay.
They come because they can run around, race up and down Hyatt, because they don't use the sidewalks you put in, and they go in the schoolyard.
If you see that, call 911 too.
Okay,
That's our
because
best.
they stop in front of my house and throw rocks at my dogs. I went out there, I don't think they're gonna do that again. But they terrorize the deer in the schoolyard, because the deer are over there every night eating.
Please call 911, huh?
Oh, I will,
Yeah, okay.
all right.
Thank you.
You might get one tonight,
That's fine.
because they're out there in 10:30,
Thank you.
blasting up and down the street.
Any further resident?
Does the law require the front of them be with the white lights and the back is the red?
I don't think that's part of our ordinance, no. No, it
That's
doesn't.
not part of the ordinance, but is that's the statement,
I-
right?
I have to look at that, I'm not sure.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none. Councilwoman Hill.
I've read through this, and I think it's a well-needed ordinance because of the high increased traffic of e-bikes on the sidewalks and through the city, which isn't a bad thing. It allows disabled people to go now where places they couldn't go before. But, letter under section 72-02 unlawful operation of parking. Okay, little letter II, operating on a sidewalk at a speed that is excessive. What is an example of that?
Well, again, it, in a reckless manner.
Okay.
It's a reckless manner, careless manner, and that's what we're looking at.
Okay, so it's just a reckless manner,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
And if you're going at, top speed at some of these things, that's reckless. So it gives a lot of leeway to the officers out there, and discretion, as someone mentioned about that as well.
Councilman Hicks.
Yeah, just clarify one thing for me, please. A lot of people have to use their bicycles or e-bikes or anything to go to and from after dark. If they've got lights on it, front and back lights, like a car, can they legally transfer themselves from their work or home or to the store or anything like that?
I'm not sure, Mike,
As written, I don't believe that it permits that in particular.
Councilwoman
Can we add that exception?
that's council's choice. I don't know.
I mean, there is people that don't have cars, and especially with winter coming on, it starts at 6 o'clock. Our cars have headlights, if they were on the sidewalk, not on the road, not reckless. I couldn't see why we couldn't include safety-approved lights. That's just my opinion.
I just think it's a bad ad. I would like to see that.
Councilwoman Miller.
I really agree with Tom there, because I know people that work midnights, you have to look at past the kids staying up, going out 2 o'clock in the morning. I know personally of a lot of people that use those, go to the gas station at night, my husband's got a moped that does have a light, I tell him 10:30, even though we got a plate on it. I don't know if that makes a difference, because we're registered, but I would like to see that changed.
It's a great suggestion.
Yeah, really good suggestion, that we change that, because a lot of people don't have cars. Other than that, I have to say, I had a couple of kids that were a little reckless, and I stopped them, and I said, you guys are ruining it for everyone. And I said, this is the problem, So if you guys can straighten this out, I know that you guys will be able to have a lot more freedom. And those two young men have been great. They actually say, hi, Mrs. Miller, when they go by now, so.
And that's great to hear. It
Yeah.
is. I mean, that's the way we should
It's
handle
just
it.
communication with these guys.
Councilman Dick.
I would agree, white light, red light, standard bicycle safety, they have that after dark. I mean, it becomes a thing with younger kids out there, terrorizing the streets after dark, then it's, curfew or something like that.
I agree also, I guess, that's fine for him and come back to the next meeting.
I made notes and I can bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a couple questions. It's come to my attention, especially over the weekend, that Benton Township has a very large problem, but these same children, there's 4 to 5, the numbers vary, children are utilizing to get from point A, one part of Benton Township, to point B, the other part of Benton Township, of course, the city of Linden, okay? And these children are ding-dong ditching, or whatever you call it. I was told, they're kicking in doors of homes, they're, destroying property between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. And the common denominator of this is that they're all riding the e-motorcycle dirt bike scenarios, okay? And so what language, I'm not seeing any language that says, these shall not be on the street.
So again, that is in the motor vehicle code, it's already written in the motor vehicle code. So if those are going on, if we see those, and they're not supposed to be riding in the city, because it's already against the law.
Okay, yesterday, a resident of Linden contacted me because there was e-motorcycles going up and down her street doing wheelies. She contacted the police. She did a video for the officer, and he said because he was not there was nothing he could do, even though she told him where he lived,
Okay.
the child. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under, I want to be really, really clear. But I don't want to see a child, these kids are between 13 and 15 years old, get hurt or hurt someone.
Okay.
That's where my concern comes in. And so while I understand it's part of the motor vehicle, can that language go in? It shall not occur.
I mean, it could go in there, but I mean, it's already stated in the motor vehicle code, and it's addressed specifically. And so I'm trying to, we use the motor vehicle code to write tickets. This is a different situation. This is to regulate, because the motor vehicle code doesn't address e-bikes and all those things.
Okay.
So that's why. And then that resident,
'Cause-
I would love, if she's willing, and you could have them call me personally, I could talk.
We'll talk after the meeting.
Fantastic.
We'll talk after the meeting, for sure. Because that one right now is probably my biggest concern.
Yep.
And hearing all the different places that these same 4 to 5 kids, between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m.
Appreciate it.
All the way over to Avalon Beach, Marl, Loon Harbor, and destroying everything between here and there.
Yeah. We have not had any of those in Linden, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. Just kind of a preventative. If they're utilizing our roads to get from point A to point B, then we take that out of the equation and then they stay on one side. And it'll be a little easier for the sheriffs. Because they have been contacted multiple times. Go ahead.
Can we add that somewhere in our, website?
Sure.
Because people can go on there knowing that we have a new ordinance. I don't know if you can put it out on our newsletter, just a little blurb to go in and look at the new ordinance. I mean, the people she's talking about have utilized, now kicked out of Calabrias because of the 4 young men going in and not doing the right thing in the restroom. So we have a problem with Fenton, a couple of these kids from Fenton Township coming in. These aren't Linden kids.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Any further questions, comments? there a motion? Actually, no, we have to bring it back. Okay, so we will see that again. All right, so we are now moving on to, E, council meeting location. City council meetings within Mosley Center Halls A and B, and Denise, you would put that on the agenda.
I put this on the agenda because I think, you know, it's, you look at any of the meeting places on YouTube, you know, where people are meeting for city hall meetings, and being put in the annex is way too small. This is open, we don't ever predict who we have coming in, how many people are coming in, and I think it's just, you can hear each other, a little bit better, even without the microphones. I'd like to have a permanent place, either Hall A or B, that would be our city council, and see how the rest of the council feels.
Any residents have any comments, questions about? Okay.
Oh, I was just saying from a video point of view, I like the setup in there because it has the screens, and you can see the presenter, and then there's the screen right next to them showing what they're talking about, like when they were talking about restriping the lanes and things like that. And so that one has a little bit more better visual aids, whereas for here, you have to like turn to look at this, or, you know, it's more up front, and people can just face forward and see it like right behind you guys.
If you looked at the last meeting, when they were talking about the striping, did you watch what city council was doing? A couple was looking here, a couple was back there, we had to turn our whole chairs to even look at it. So, consideration, I just feel it's a little bit better, it's a little bit more open, and I understand what you're saying. It's, and with you videotaping, you do a great job, really good job. You're able to turn your phone around. But I think it looks more professional to have a place come in, to hold this open. And hopefully you can see all of us on the screen, because a lot of times it leaves the city out on that YouTube post. So it's just my thing.
No, I think at some point we can have.
All right, thank you both. Okay, any further?
I
Okay.
disagree. I think for the people in the audience, you guys don't have your iPad, you can look. But it's easier for the people in the audience to be able to have 3 screens. I think it's big enough. And, it's just my opinion, but I know for me, everyone's got to turn to see that. Where in the other room, we've got the big screens and the 2 on the side. And you people all have iPads, or you all have computers, so I don't see what the problem is when you have to turn. It's just my opinion.
Thank you.
I think if they hurry up with the audio system, you might solve a lot of problems. And as far as visual and stuff, maybe it's smarter that they're over here, over this way, and maybe the people are over here, and then everybody can see, because then you can see it, they can see it at an angle, and if we're turned this way, we can see it.
I don't like it in the annex when you guys have the tables in front of like half of the entryway, where when people are walking in and out in the annex, the audience members are walking on and off the stage is how I feel. They're walking in and you guys are right there. And you can't sneak in and out because you have to walk past the table that's halfway in front of the door when you walk in.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. Is this going back in the mill building when it's done? No? Oh, and then, okay, another suggestion, if you guys move to where they are and you switch the chairs, it would be like the annex, like where the screen's behind the city council. And he could videotape both. Just a thought.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? All right. Let's go to Councilwoman Simmons.
I don't have anything
the 3 screens are preferable.
Councilman Dick.
I have no preference, I just know in here that on that back wall, because it's dual wall, there's no power for city staff or computers or anybody else that needed to plug in back there if we were gonna reconfigure. I think that was one of the reasons we didn't do it before.
Councilwoman Miller.
Well, I feel that this is where the last council had, this room, you're never putting in the annex, and they made it work. I just think it's larger, you never know what audience we have coming, and I will stand on that, I think this is a better setup. I do believe that what the young lady back in the back was saying is to change us, you know, put us where the city is and change it the other way, and that would be better. But I still think that this is more professional. And this is where the last city council was, so they didn't have an issue with it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Councilman Lee.
You know, I think certain situations, there's been times when we had a lot of people show up for meetings, and the annex definitely would not hold that. I think the recommendation of just basically swapping you guys in here, that gives you access to power, and then the residents will be facing that direction, make it easy for everyone to see the screen so that the entire audience doesn't have to turn their heads, it's just us at council, and that's not a big deal. But I think swapping a room would be, or swapping where we're sitting in the room would be a good idea.
All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion.
I support. Do we need a-
What is the?
The motion is to move the, council meetings to either A or B. Hall, and out of the annex.
I support. Okay, and it's an, all in favor? It's not an all in favor? I thought that's what she was motioning.
No, I was gonna ask.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant that with the hand that it was, yeah, one of those, okay, sorry.
I guess just for the sake of the motion, so holding the hall meeting. So I know Tessa's not here this evening, but anything that she may have scheduled, I guess I request that degree of flexibility for staff to be able to, if this is already reserved, for instance, we have the annex being closed and used for early voting this week. I guess I just request, that flexibility, degree of flexibility for staff to be able to shift if need be. And then another question I have is if we are gonna hold the meetings in here, how would you like me to proceed with the audio or the speakers and the equipment in the annex? Should we cancel that order?
I guess we wouldn't need that.
After weeks and weeks and weeks of bringing up, you're just gonna cancel it?
Hello. Thank you.
So I guess I would want that addressed in the motion too, just for clarification.
So do we want to bring this back to the work session? Do you want to bring it back or you okay with that? Okay.
I don't know that it's necessary if you just amend your motion to reflect what your guys' wishes are. If that's what you wanna do.
I have a question, if we need that flexibility, you know, to go to the other room, I think we should have the speakers in that other room if we get moved over there, right? I agree 100% that there needs to be some flexibility, but if the room works better in here, we'll go here, but maintain the speakers over there.
So proceed.
That would be,
And Mayor, I have another question. What's the cost to maintain the speakers in a room that we might use once a year or twice a year? What was that bill? That was substantial. $20,000?
I think it was, I don't know, I think for that room, there was 2 different projects, I think it was closer to $10,000.
Can I ask you a question? The last time I was here, I asked if it was paid for on the invoice, and I was told no.
It hasn't been paid for.
Okay.
But the installation is scheduled for next week, so I just wanted to.
It's not paid for, I just want to know if we're committed signed the purchasing agreement, so, or we committed. Special order equipment, so.
I guess the question that I have, the microphones, okay, are they portable and will they work in both rooms? Or will they only work in that room?
Just, the microphones only work in Hall A and B as it stands right now.
Okay, so the ones you purchased will only work in the annex?
Correct, because they will be wired in such as these are with that receiver and the speakers that will be installed in the room.
Okay. Is there a way to have them wired in here versus there? No, I'm just, trying to spitball here, ideas, okay? Because these die in like 3 seconds, so some of them. All right, so do we want to vote on this tonight, or do we want to bring it to work session and have another discussion? All right, so let's do it by hand. If you would like to bring it to work.
Madam Mayor, can I
Yes.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, the bills that we have is in 3 different bills. So there's no use, you tell me that you won't have no use for these speakers or anything else for this building?
The annex quote, so there's 2 projects. So halls A and B is one project, and the other project is the annex. And that is separate, yes, because there's no wiring, there's no speakers as it stands right now, so that's what we were.
So we'd save the money on the annex, but we could still do everything in here.
Correct.
Okay.
If,
And we wouldn't need we wouldn't need the microphones.
So only if the purchase agreement, I guess we would have to double check.
I mean, is there a chance it would change your overall pricing structure because they're bidding a certain size job and now we're saying we're gonna take a section out of it, so.
Well, I guess that my next question is, what's the price tag on that? And did we get total price?
So the price, invoices have been emailed, I think, multiple times, and they're just invoices as a whole. We haven't even officially been invoiced, we won't be invoiced until the project's completion, which is why I have a very narrow window to let them know that this is happening.
And what's the total price? 24,000?
I can. Madam Mayor, City Council, just as you guys can understand, we would have been able to have all of that stuff if we would have known what the specific questions were. As Kristen had explained, we have provided that information previously. It is 2 separate projects. The projectors in hall A and B do not work. That's why we have a projector set up, taking up seating in the middle of the hall. That project is specific to halls A and B to fix the projectors and those, the receiver. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but they're 2 completely separate projects. And it's to fix the projectors and the necessary IT equipment in these 2 halls as we host a variety of programs within these 2 halls separate of those. Did you have a question?
No,
Oh,
no.
And so just, to clarify that, it's a separate project, and then the annex was, the one that included, receiver, microphones to be able to equip that room necessary to accommodate, additional programming, council meetings and things of that nature that also fed into the iPad as well, for the direct sound.
Madam Mayor, question? Would it be just as easy as moving the tables, maybe moving our setup to the west side of that room?
In the annex?
Yeah,
I mean, we can configure it, however, if there's another,
because I don't think the annex is too small. I agree with the tables kind of being in the way, like when you're walking the door, it's kind of uncomfortable, but, I mean, it still works for me. I don't want to give up on the project that we debated and talked about for months and months and months. Everybody thought it was the right thing to do, and now we're gonna abandon it at the last minute. That's not a good idea.
also, I think it's important to clarify too, that the city council was displaced because of the mill project. And the discussion there was that we would find a more permanent location once the annex was done to be able to move into that facility, or that section. Also allowing these rooms, as you guys have all expressed, and residents and members here have expressed, being able to allow programming in the evenings. And so
also isolating city council meetings or public meetings back there, and then allowing these rooms to still be utilized in the evenings and things like that. That was part of the discussion as well. So, yes, council was in here for a short period of time. They were displaced because of the mill project, fire code, Brian, sorry to put you on the spot. I think that room in the annex accommodates more than what we originally had in the bottom of the mill building, so.
Right.
Right.
Like 20, I believe.
Thank you, Denise.
Brian, what's the fire code for the other room versus this room? Do you know?
Look on the wall. Has a little similar somewhere.
Identical, 102 people.
Same
This side versus the other room. Just a quick question. We've heard this $24,000. Is there one company doing both projects? So
The
that-
smart homes that actually, I think the public council members actually talked to at the MML, they presented to city council, but it's the same contractor.
Okay, so it's just not just for the microphones, the annex, it's for all three projects.
It's the same company doing it, but I don't, we have the total, I don't know that. Okay.
No, that's okay, 'cause-
24, it's 24, it's 23 something.
yeah, but that's for all.
The annex
three
specifically, I
projects.
think, was, 10,000 and, yes.
Okay,
And then these two rooms were separate, it was a low-fee project that Tessa had worked with them on.
that makes more sense, because we were hearing 24, it's like, why would be so much just for some speakers and microphones in the annex? Now it makes sense.
Again, the company that they're working with, is trying to, be accommodating as far as installation, to be able to do Tessa's project for Losi Senior Center, and then Kristen's project for the annex as well. Obviously, it benefits all of Losi, also the smart homes, is it smart homes? I apologize. They are a company that has been through the mine deal and the Sourcewell, bidding process, and so they have the mine deal contract and the Sourcewell contract that we use for collaborative purchasing and stuff.
And when they do all A and B, they're gonna put up new projectors. Are we still gonna use the now screens, or is there gonna be flat TV?
So I understand they're putting, the projectors are fine, they'll just be reinstalling or installing. I know, I apologize, I don't have the exact details, but Tessa has worked with them on that specifically. But it is to fix the projectors currently.
It was two new projectors.
Two new projectors. Now, is this coming out of the OC fund?
So Tessa's portion for gas, and then the annex would be coming from, general funds.
No.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we talked about it at length in the past too, being able to utilize PEG funding as well to accommodate the annex.
Answered a lot of questions, thank you.
I think there was some wording in the quotes that were sent out, that they were emailed, where all three of the quotes had to be purchased together. So that kind of what Don was saying, that they're kind of tied together in there.
I think they're
But
hoping
it-
so, to
but
be able to give us.
That company still has the flexibility, they can make the decision to respect the pricing and break it up, but, if we can't come to a decision, obviously, Kristen, we postpone the installation.
Well, I mean, we can postpone it. I'm just thinking through this, the equipment, I mean, they've already paid to order the equipment, shipping costs, the equipment shipped, so they have it, so I'm just wondering. I assume they would tell us, I don't want to make any assumptions, I need to speak with them, but that's not where I'm coming from.
And maybe what we can do, since we don't have that answer or anything like that, we can set up the annex, where we swap with the staff and the council and see if that helps, you all. Willing to try different configurations, if that helps as well. Again, also, if you guys want to amend the motion to just give clarification for staff, we'll execute if that's what you would like. The motion is on the table right now to change it to all A and B. I think Kristen was just hoping for clarification, so we can move forward.
I'd agree with that, with the flexibility. Of course, if there's something that is needed in this room, we have the flexibility to change it.
So if, for instance, if there's programming schedules or pulled in,
If there's programming in A or B, yeah, then it could be,
forward with the, again, the technology for the annex as well then.
I would also think for, like, planning commission, right? You know, we typically don't have, you know, a bunch of people there, that would, you know, be better there and still, and then not allow this room to be used for programming or whatever. Not all the meetings need to be done here, you know. So by continuing with the annex, you can still have the planning commission and meetings, smaller meetings in there. And then with council, we have the flexibility either or. So continue on is what I'm saying with that.
I'm gonna respectfully request a restate of the motion.
Yeah.
Just so we can clarification.
Well, excuse me. You explained a little bit more tonight about, maybe I'll get, say, Pella or whatever it was, funds to help with the grants money. So we've got that, now we know it's 3 built, 3 rooms, not just one. The figures that we've been hearing for money and stuff, and if we could make it to where all 3 rooms are available to us, I think that makes it a little bit more appealing. We could have the choice of then whatever the size of the meeting or whatever we pick a room.
And Mayor, just clarification, I don't know if this is for Ellen or Kristen, is a motion really necessary if you're getting some direction? So I'm picturing if the meeting is originally scheduled for the annex and 200 people show up, then it's not gonna happen in the annex and you're going to pivot, would be my assumption. And if 2 people show up in the audience, the annex suffices. Do you need a motion under those circumstances?
Well, then I guess, Mike, how would you know that? Until the day of the meeting.
You may not.
Right.
But I'm thinking of all the years that you were in the basement of City Hall, I remember that being moved one time. And it was moved because a larger crowd was anticipated, but for all other purposes, it served.
Well, we've had some really big, you know,
Of course.
meetings lately, and so that's the reason. I would like to still have the AOD, and then if for some reason these rooms are needed, then we go down to the.
I mean, I think Kristen needs the direction. That's what, I mean, that's the point here.
Well, it sounds like we are going to need to vote tonight. There will be no pushing it to a work session. No further discussion. That's what I'm understanding.
But if we don't vote,
I guess, Attorney Gilbert, do I feel a motion is necessary? I don't. I feel, you know, as long as council is comfortable with staff discretion, if we need to move, we'll move, just as we do now. You know, I set up and there's people rolling through the door, I can put it, I guess, and
Sorry, are you looking for a motion for A, have option for A, B, and C?
I'm not looking for motion at all, but that's what it's
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, Tom, we know you like to talk, and that's a good thing. As long as we can agree that, to allow the staff to use their discretion, I don't think there's any need for a motion here. It's not like we're voting on an ordinance or something, we just have to agree that if it's a bigger group coming in the door, let the staff move. Let them handle it, that's what they're good at.
I think what I'll do is, Councilwoman.
I've already said that I'd rather have these rooms, and then if for some reason these rooms are taken, then we go down to the annex.
So does that need a motion, Kristen, to have these rooms as the primary, with that being the secondary? Do you need to vote on that, or not? That's
No,
the
I
question.
understand.
Okay, I wanted to make sure everybody was good.
And may I ask one more question? Kristen, well, I know Tessa's not here to answer, but how often do we have programming in rooms A and B? I know occasionally we've heard bowls bouncing around and things like that, so while we're meeting, I'm just curious.
yeah, she could have the better idea. I do know just from her, within her report, she references some evening events. Sometimes parks and rec, they may want to hold event here or this as their backup location for an outdoor event. I'm not You guys thinking of that? I know yoga twice a week, sure with that.
That's what was here that one night we were down in the office.
Right, so are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Oh, you've gotten all the direction, we're good now?
So the preference is called A and B,
Okay,
but if there's something going on, I am allowed to move it to the annex.
okay, and then the microphones, I think, everybody wanted to continue proceeding with the microphones. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, we are good. Give me some rechargeable for my, all right, so, item F is the LoC Center. And
Seeing what, Monica put out today, more concerned. This is going on, I'm not sure if anybody else can see this, but you can, I'll read it for anybody who wants to. It looks like we have a lot of, cancellations through the arthritis exercises, closing programs down, Tai Chi, buddy to run those classes. I personally talked to a couple people that said they're going to Swartz Creek now because so much cancellation. And then we have the voting here, which I thought was a very good idea. Except for they're saying that now we're closing programs and lunches for that. So it's concerning because this is, the LoC Senior Center. That's what was given as the Senior Center. But looking at this, is there anything we can do to make sure that these people that come here, I mean, this has got purple all over it, that these classes aren't being, being canceled, not because people aren't showing up. April the 2nd, no drums, no chair, no arthritis. The next week, the same thing. Continues, I mean, it's almost every day that these guys coming in don't have the program, and then I've had, somebody say that with the voting in here, that's caused more trouble, where programs are being taken out. So, I was hoping Tessa would be here to answer something. Any of the seniors in here, it's disappointing if you want them in to get class. So, I guess I will leave that to Ellen or anyone that can answer that.
Again, without knowing this in advance, to be able to, and let Tessa know that this is gonna be on the, agenda, but I'll try to answer as best I can. She does put together a pretty detailed report and does explain in her report when and if there is a cancellation. As you guys know, we've had a retirement of one of the yoga instructors. We've also had 2 other, instructors that have had health issues or family members with health issues. Also, I'll point you to my update, that I had sent on Friday in regards to LoC Center. That programming is continuing during early voting. We've had to shift some things, but it is continuing during early voting. Also, that we've had to cancel, because the instructor for, some of the classes, again, personal and professional obligations and stuff like that. So Tessa does work really hard to try to make sure that programming is gonna continue. Even in the absence of an instructor, she's trying to get creative. Also in my update, we informed you guys that we are bringing yoga back a couple of days a week with Dottie being able to come back on. So we're trying to do the best that we can to pivot when we need to and be able to keep things rolling. I will also draw attention to her numbers. Last year, it was late fall, early winter before she hit 1,600 and some unduplicated members. She's already hit that, so she's surpassed what she did last year, 7 months in advance. So we're still getting people in here, we're still getting the programming to happen. Yes, it's been disruptive because of some of the schedules. We're trying to do the best that we can. Tessa will continue to try to do the best that she can. I know she's, again, trying to partner wherever she can. Southern Lakes, all of those different partnerships to try to increase or provide in the absence of programming, so. And I don't have a copy of that, so I don't know, but I'm sure I can make a copy.
No, it's not it's just a little worry. It's, when you see month after month after month of the arthritis, program being canceled. And I understand, trying to get, or anyone to come in and do the job. Tessa is phenomenal. The people that work in here are phenomenal. I think some of this older older seniors are just getting worried that some of their programming, you know, the real seniors, the seventies, you know, that they're not getting everything they want. You have pickleballs here, you know, some of the other things that the younger ones can do, that's the concern. So, just wanted to, you know, she brought this in, I looked at it, it seems worrisome. Thank you.
Any residents have any questions?
Seniors have asked, is this gonna be called the Luce Senior Center? Up here it says the Luce, on here it says Luce Center. They
It's
want
Losi
the-
Senior Center.
It needs to be corrected on the paperwork.
Any further resident questions? Any council questions on this item? Just kidding.
Alan, you did say that Tessa keeps track of the cancellations and reasons for the cancellations, and that's accessible, available to anybody?
Yeah, I think, she does usually try to put it in her reports, whenever there's something, but she does try to keep track of all of that stuff. So that way, because we have to notify people that are attending, in advance and things like that, if we have to reschedule, if we have to move programming, all those things. So, yeah, she tries to keep a pretty close eye on it. We are offered services like, through, Valley Area on Aging, they provide us some instructors. Again, if they have an illness, or if they have a conflict with scheduling, we a lot of times have to cancel it, they don't have anybody to backfill that for us. That is one of the free classes that is provided. Again, we have a physical therapist that offers some of the course, classes. And again, they have, you know, communicated that for personal reasons, they've had to cancel and stuff like that, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
One more question. Is there any way to get someone to come in for like the arthritis, to actually hire somebody, part-time or? Cause it seems like that's one that was really where the older seniors are missing.
So Tessa has been working on trying to fill, whatever classes that she potentially can with, instructors. We have to be mindful of making sure that they're either certified, or have the capability to provide and execute, you know, programming and stuff. So yeah, she's working on all of that.
Normally, it's a no-no, but go ahead, one, real quick.
Okay, so this is just an example. This was on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock. The parking lot is completely empty, except for me. So that's just an example of the center is not being used, to everyone's benefit.
Any further? Council? Denise, raise your right, are you good?
I'm good.
All right, G, bills.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. All right, good. So we will be removing that. All right, city, managers update.
So I sent out a update on Friday, and just to add to some of those items, today we were, unfortunately, our entire BSNA program was down, so, that was, so we did get word at the end of the day that well, actually it was after 5, that we think the system is back up and running, so we'll be able to hit the ground running tomorrow, hopefully with that. That's our entire financial software. And again, just pointing you guys to my update that I sent you all on Friday. I would like to mention, the mill project, so that is moving along, again, drawing attention to, we have some challenges with, our pole that's on the east side of the building, and that's, we're waiting on final word for that, what we need to do with that, but, it looks like it will potentially have to be moved, but again, we're waiting on that. We also have heard verbally, that obviously the completion date is gonna be moved back, but I think we all anticipated that with some of the changes that we've had. We were able to take a couple of the council members through there today. Things are moving, it's incredible. They've been doing a lot of work in there, and welcome the completion of that project, definitely. So happy to field any questions you guys might have. Additionally, also, I just wanted, again, in my update, I mentioned the sewer rates. So District 3, we had a meeting, and they're on a 5-year rate cycle for the sewer rates. The county has that structure in place for sewer, that the city's been on the sewer system since its inception. So we're anticipating more information coming back on that. Thanks.
City attorney update?
I just wanted to make myself available to council members. I've been asked a number of questions. I haven't been able to answer all of them in writing, but I'm here tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I have no report.
Is it just council members?
Yes.
Okay. Do any council members have questions about?
I do. Language in the charter, and I know this is what you addressed, and I'm kind of a little confused. And the charter was made up by the citizens in the city. And they put the word must come to council. Now, I went back and I looked at Fenton Township, the supervisor or the city manager picks the person, and then they come to city council for the approval. Holly, which you're, I think, the attorney at Holly, Fenton City, Grand Blanc, all our areas all do the same thing. It's the city manager hires, recommends, and then comes in front of city council for the approval. This gentleman we hired, I don't know really his name. I don't know what the budget or the background on him. I'm not sure if anybody else has been given this information. I think it's important. I mean, we have a role as city council. City council before, if they didn't do this, I'm sure that, somehow they communicated that there was a new guy being, or a new person being hired. But that's our role as city council, as the role of every other city around us, is that we get at least a say in who's being hired. Ellen does have she makes everything go like a row. But as far as the hiring, we don't have no resume, we don't have nothing, we don't know nothing about this person. It's not that I don't believe he would be a great fit, but I still believe that sometime it should come before all of us, just as seal, just as stamp of approval. Because we don't have that, what is our job?
So, there really wasn't a question there. I understand your point of view completely. I was asked to comment on the charter as I interpreted it. And the word must means shall, which is obligatory, which eliminates the discretion. Okay? So must means you must, you shall. In the first page of my letter, I said, you can find a sentence or language in that charter to support your position, whichever way it is. So for every sentence that talks about subject to council approval, there is other language which seems to suggest that no, the city manager has that supervisory power. And so I think it's a muddled mess. I don't think it's at all clear under the charter. And I acknowledge the fact that other communities have different standards in place, but we operate obviously under your charter. And so that's all I looked at, your charter.
So what is the role of the city council? I mean, if we could be hiring anyone, we don't have no say in who's being hired.
Well, so I think part of the problem, Denise, is are we talking just department heads, or are we talking employees?
No, not employees, I'm just talking just the department heads.
So, at least here's one school of thought there. The department heads are supervised by the city manager. They answer to the city manager. That is part of her team, the administrative team, right? Anytime that there's a new coach hired in the NFL, he almost always brings on his own team, right? Because those people answer to the city manager. I don't know, I'm trying to think through a situation where council approves someone that Ellen is not recommending or is not comfortable with, and yet she is responsible for supervising that person. That, to me, is a very awkward situation.
Does the city council approve Tessa or Brooke as treasurer?
You didn't, and I don't believe that you do. Now, with respect to the DPW individual, for the meetings that I've been at, it's been mentioned that Donnie's retiring, that there's going to be this replacement. So I don't know if the resume was actually circulated, but it was, if, in my opinion, if the city manager who is charged with supervising that person is comfortable with that choice, then it's her call. That's my opinion. You guys make the rules.
Just to clarify, too, Mike, the clerk and the treasurer by charter are appointed by the city council. They are the ones that are named in there. Brooke, when she moved into, from deputy treasurer to treasurer, she was, I guess, confirmed by the city council as well as the clerk was. Those are the only two
Right.
instances.
Yeah, and that,
You did.
I misspoke, but that is crystal clear in the charter.
Sure. But I believe that department heads is also mentioned in there.
Department heads are mentioned in there, but it also talks about administrative heads. There are so many descriptors attached to it that I'm not able to follow your charter. Who exactly falls within that definition? That's the problem.
I have a question, and it's actually on something completely different, and it involves curfews. The state of Michigan curfew has that curfew time for children under 12 years old. By the way, this is Public Act 41 of 1960, updated 2026. Its curfew is between 10 a.m. and 6 o'clock p.m., or a.m., sorry. They're not allowed out in the street and stuff. So I was wondering if we shouldn't be updating our curfew, which reads, according to our compiled law, 11 a.m. to 6 a.m. And I did look at Fenton Township, they adapt whatever locale they're near or follow the state of Michigan. But
So-
I was just curious because we're talking about those e-bikes and, you know, at least here's one way of kind of enforcing rules on two things. Being out after the curfew and on an e-bike. So it got me thinking we should maybe change and update ours to read the same time as the state of Michigan.
That's
What do you
not-
think? I mean, I'm just asking you what
You know, I have opinions on everything
Yeah.
that comes before you, but I take direction.
Yeah.
So if council wants an amendment, we can make that amendment.
It just makes sense, it calls the state of Michigan has, and then you have another means to regulate e-bikes on the sidewalk after hours. I was thinking about asking Scott back there, but I saw him hiding.
Okay, so I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna address overall the police world of Linden. We have not had a B&E since I've been one, I take it back, and it was a relative. We had one stolen car since I've been chief. We haven't had a robbery, our crime is nil, and the officers are doing a great job. Our juveniles are behaving themselves. Yeah, we have some e-motorcycle problems and e-bike problems, but this is a safe community. It is one of the safest communities in Michigan, bar none. And to continue to throw new laws at things when there's not really lawbreakers is an issue. And that's my opinion.
I mean, I spoke to Mike a little bit about this hiring situation, and part of it, I agree, like, you know, Ellen's the manager, right? And if you're the manager, you wanna succeed or fail by your people, that, you know, you select your people. But as Mike kind of mentioned, that, you know, mess in this area. These points bring up, yeah, you can read it and you read further down and it's saying the exact opposite same thing. So I think if we want to address this, if the council does want to have appointees of directors come to us for the stamp of approval at the end, I think that would require that the charter be amended and that would require a vote by the residents.
Yeah, and to that point, your charter is a mess, not just on this, and a number of things that we've identified over the years. And so I strongly suggest that we look at revising it. I think that given everything that's on your plate, probably waiting until after the election, things settle down a little bit, because it's a pretty massive project. But I wouldn't go in and just amend this, because you can look at and find all sorts of other problems.
So you're recommending, if I'm understanding, even based on our conversation about your answer, your recommendation is a total redo of the charter.
I won't say a total redo, that it's a comprehensive review, and you don't do it fix by fix, right? So you fix this, but then you leave some other problems. So, you know, after reviewing it, you may find that 85% of it you like just the way it is, but that way you know exactly what you think needs to be changed.
And then that goes to a vote of the people
Yes.
on the ballot.
Yes.
Okay.
I have one more question. So, going back to what I was talking about, so what if somebody was hired that we know wasn't capable? Where is the council's job at all to oversee? I'm not, she can hire everybody anywhere she wants, but the head of the departments, even in the charter, says, if someone is hired or fired, they come to the council if they get further afield. So, I mean, there has to be a role for council.
Oh, you have a role. The city manager serves at council's pleasure. If she assembles a team that is not doing the job or not doing it well, then she answers to you.
But we are hiring someone that we don't know nothing about. We have no idea, I don't know his name, what the budget is, what his background is, because we think he wasn't. This might be, but this is gonna come into another time, from another council, where you're basically saying the council doesn't have a role of anything in the city, as far as hiring and firing.
I'm not saying that, Denise, I'm not saying that. I was asked to review your charter as written and give my best advice. And for every provision which says that she must get city council approval, there is something else which says that she doesn't. So under those circumstances, I think you can plug the hole by fixing the charter. But as it stands right now, that's not doable.
Totally different from every other entity around us.
No, right to that though, I think you have to understand that you're comparing other cities that have a separate charter, a different charter. They put together a team of residents and a charter commission when they, and their incorporation of a city, and they developed their charter to meet their needs at the time, just as the city of Linden did. Townships are a completely different animal. They operate under a completely different, laws than what cities do as well. And I probably don't speak up enough, when the time arises, but I'll take the opportunity now to address some of the things that were communicated tonight, hopefully clarify. So the implication that you guys didn't know, or that there was no knowledge of this, I'll go back to the email that I sent you, Denise, on July 22nd. When the question was raised about the hiring, I brought him to the last meeting to introduce him, and his name is Pat McNally. He is from the city of Westland. In that meeting, I also reviewed some of his credentials as well. I was happy to answer any of those questions at the time. There was none. But going back to March 9th, when Don gave us his notice of retirement, and I sent an email to council saying that we were starting on the transition phase of that. Again, April 24th, emailed the job advertisement. May 22nd, emailed communication sharing that there was 5 candidates moving forward in that process out of the interview process. July 1st, emailed communication that I had extended an offer and it was accepted, and then brought him in July to interview. So I just don't like the implication that I don't keep you in the loop about things and you guys are not getting information and things like that.
Oh, no, I totally agree with you.
Okay,
When
appreciate
reading the
that.
charter, it sounded like that we had the final approval, not that any one of us would have said no to it. It's
And
just
to-
getting there has to be a
point.
role.
To the point of the charter, I think for myself and staff, we would love to see the charter cleaned up in a lot of different areas, so that there is no doubt whatsoever, so.
Well, and let me touch on, one of the other questions I was asked is, if LOCI is a department of the city, then it must be created by ordinance. And I was cited to section 6.13, which says, the council shall by ordinance establish departments of city government and determine and prescribe the functions and duties of each. By the logic of the person in the public who asked that question, you don't have a police department because it's not created by ordinance. You don't have a DPW department because it wasn't created by ordinance. Nor do you have a fire department. This language in 6.13 that I just read, I've not seen in any other charter, Holly's or otherwise, and I did some searching. Nor have I ever seen an ordinance which creates a police department and prescribes the duties of the police department, or fire department, or DPW. So, to your point that what I said is contrary to everybody else, we can only go by your charter, and not by anybody else's. So, just like the language you're citing, I would say, well, this is unique language. I don't know of it anyplace else, but it's here.
I wish the person that was writing the charter back in the day was still around.
They're all dead. They're all dead.
And to answer that question that I was asked, no, LOCI does not have to be established.
Oh, I didn't ask that question.
No, I know, but I was asked, and I'd like very much to put that,
Sorry, it's okay, I just wanna make sure everybody can hear the city attorney. Thank you. Are there any further questions on this issue from council? All right, seeing none. Thank you all for the department reports, and we're gonna move to council comments and reports. We will start with Councilman Simmons.
I don't have anything to add this evening. Thank you.
Councilman Hicks.
I think I've talked too much already, so I think I'll be quiet.
Councilwoman Howard.
I'll be quick, but, I just wanted to thank Kristen and Nikki for all the hard work they've done on these early voting days. They've run really, really well. I encourage everybody, get out there and vote. We had 10 people on Saturday, early voting day. Get out there and vote, please. Give us some excitement at least. Because early voting days are there for your, but I just wanted to thank you very, very much for your hard work. We really appreciate it.
Councilman.
No, I think we've talked about a bunch of things. And I'm just glad there's no Canadian smoke outside right now. Brisk smoking is being done, as they said. It did cancel, a night of our events for River Rose. The wind blowing through canceled fireworks, everybody was kind of bummed out. But we had good attendance. Otherwise, I think everybody was happy. Had a lot going on in Dr. Wax's lot. The American Legion had Rosie the Riveter again, which was awesome. A lot of good participation from the local churches, and the kids got to do a lot of great cool things.
Councilwoman Howard.
Only got a couple things. First of all, thank you for having Linden Growing do first, and it really shows up. We got the karaoke, and then having Linden was disappointing. I know you guys are more disappointed than Linden. But you guys always do a good job. I have to say one thing, is that not this last meeting, the meeting before, I spoke out against, said something I shouldn't have said. I was raised that if I say something in public, I have to apologize the same way in public. So, she asked not to have an apology. I was raised different, and I am so sorry. I shouldn't have ever said what I said. And I hope you You don't have to, accept my apology, but I will give it. Down in Ellen, thank you very much for, taking us out to the mill building today. It's remarkable. It's so much we can see inside that building, and where it's going. It's really cool. You got to see the elevators and the new stairs and a lot of good stuff and how hard these people work to get this done. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Don, Ellen, thanks for the tour. I mean, I think we've got enough concrete, we're about to ride Hoover Dam. But, it was quite a bit, but it was good to see if it falls down now.
No way.
But thanks for all the work and keeping us informed on all that, so. And thanks everybody for showing up.
All right, we have a closed session, this evening.
Just need a motion to go into closed session for memorandum of understanding with police department collective bargaining unit.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miller?
Yes.
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will remain in this room, so we're gonna have to have everybody else outside.
This is from our right there, you put your signature. Right there, your phone number, the office. Take it. Thank you too. You got it. What's up, brother? Hey, I tried. No, I don't want to see it. Me and you both. And that's what I'm saying. Okay.
And I went out there and said, hey, you see that camera right there, record that. How's your parents see it on Facebook? You know, oh man, of course, so sorry. Not even an hour later, they come back. They went home and told on now. So I come back in the parents' office. I'm like, I wasn't looking for that. I just wanted to know it's not.
Every kid.